Analyst says that EA plans to milk Battlefield for everything it's worth. Their goal is 3 studios making Battlefield on a 3-year basis, so they can get to Battlefield, I guess, so they can get Battlefield annually. This is what Infinity Ward and Treyarch under Activision used to do. Treyarch would make the off-year games like Call of Duty 3 and some of the earlier console games. I believe they also made Call of Duty Big Red 1. And Infinity Ward would make the main year games, which were the serious kind of like defining Call of Duty games, because Infinity Ward was the original creator, right? They were the original developer of Call of Duty 1 and Call of Duty 1 United Offensive. One of the best Call of Duties. But eventually they ran into issues where game development started taking longer and longer to get games out. This is a problem that we ran into. I mean, technically we've been running into this issue constantly. Like, it was easier to make games during the Atari 2600 days when, you know, your games look like they look like, let's pull it up here. This is what games used to look like on the Atari 2600. If you're thinking something like a Super Nintendo, I mean like a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo, you thought wrong. You thought wrong. This is what gaming was in the 70s, you know, and the early 80s. Because, you know, we had our first consoles with the Magnavox Odyssey. That was in the 70s. And that's how games used to look. And games are easier to make back then. And then we got the Nintendo Entertainment era, which with the NES, and we had stuff like Super Mario Brothers. And all of a sudden, the graphics were so much better. I think the Atari is considered what is that, like second generation consoles, and like the Magnavox Odyssey was like first generation, and the NES and Master System were third gen. Okay, but this isn't even a real. This isn't even. You put NES, and they don't even give you. And that's a Nintendo Switch. What are you doing? What are you doing? Lying, you scammer. And this. We'll walk through NES gameplay. Okay, 27 million views. Wow. Okay. So is this it? Why is this like this? Oh, this is an emulator. This is some bullshit. This is an emulator. This guy's using a fucking emulator. Everything is smoothed out. He has a filter on it. But you get the point. This is what it used to look like, but worse, because they didn't have that fucking filter on. And you know, as you can see, there's more colors. Everything looks better. But games took a little bit longer to make during the NES era. And then when the Super NES came out, the Super Nintendo, they took longer to make. But it was still not that long. Hell, even in the PS2 era, while it took longer to make games back then, 2 years of development in the PS2 era gave you a triple ass AAA game. That's 3 times the ass. Right? That's a lot of video game. You know, you had games like, I'm pretty sure I think Devil May Cry 3 was 2 years. I think Metal Gear Solid 3 was also 2 years. So many games in the PlayStation 2 era only took 2 years to make, and back then, if a game you could pump out a game in a year, and those games were the shitty ones because they were rushed, right? And typically those games were like your licensed game, like it's like, oh, your Chicken Little, the video game, or like freaking like Toy Story 2, the video game. Those games, they just shat them out really fast, and they were kind of crappy, but you know, you could do that in a year. Now you can't even do that. What's the average, like, look up how long it takes to make a licensed game now. Like, I don't know, right now I'm only thinking of Space Marine because it's a recent game, but there's no way it took 1 year for Space Marine to come out. There's no fucking way. Space Marine 2, right? I'm thinking also of that game, the fucking, I don't know why it just came up in my head. This was Marvel Ultimate Alliance on the Nintendo Switch. This was one of the early Nintendo Switch games, but it was a licensed game by Nintendo, which is weird. They licensed the Marvel, let me see, Alliance Switch. It was Marvel Alliance, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. And this was a Nintendo game. Nintendo made this. There's no way that this game took a year to make. Right? Like, look at this shit. Look at this. You know? And so Call of Duty ran into issues where it took so long for games to be made that their little 2 year window where Infinity Ward makes a game in 2 years, and then Infinity Ward will release their game on their on year, and then by the time that the off year comes out next year, right, Treyarch will have their game ready. That wasn't working anymore, so it needed to bring in a third studio, right? And then what's happened is since then, especially in the PS4 era, they've ran into a lot of issues with that. So even that's not enough, right? There was a certain point where they came in and brought in like Raven, and then they had Sledgehammer Games, and they had all these studios involved in developing Call of Duty because it just wasn't enough. And Assassin's Creed also ran into this issue to the point where Assassin's Creed is no longer a yearly franchise. Ubisoft just couldn't even pull it off anymore, despite having a bunch of studios making that game. So I think them thinking to themselves, we'll give each other 3 years. I think that's the old way of doing it. If I were EA, like no shit, like I'm just thinking business. I'm not thinking game quality right here. I am a Battlefield fan. I like Battlefield games, but you know, in terms of the business, I'd say they'd be better off having 4 fucking studios, and each studio would have at least 4 fucking years to make their game. That's how I would fucking do it, because I bet you they're gonna run into issues. I bet you 3 years is not gonna be enough. I bet you this is gonna be a fucking disaster, because if fucking Activision, who was the master of getting Call of Duty games out every year, ran into fucking issues. If fucking Activision, Bobby Kotick's Activision ran into issues, you fucking know that EA is gonna fucking stumble and fall and fucking mess this up. If you're enjoying this video and you'd like to see bigger and better content, the only thing you need to do is hit subscribe and like, and I'll take care of the rest. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Now, in terms of quality, right, we're thinking about like obviously Battlefield 6 is coming out, you know, like yeah, the trailer. I played the I played it on PS5, the beta of this, and I had fun. I played on both weekends. It was fun. But you know, like it just, to me, like obviously this feels like a return to form. And this feels like something that they've taken their time on. Like Battlefield 5 came out in 2018. So this took 6 years. This has been in production in some way, shape, or form for wait, no. Is it? Yeah. It'll be 19. Yeah, this 6 years. Damn. How the fuck are they gonna do a Battlefield in 3 years? Not only that, those Battlefields are gonna be on PlayStation 6. That in making PlayStation 6 games is gonna take even longer. Because the more complicated, the more powerful the console, the longer it takes to make games. So like, I feel like EA right now, there was some fucking a news article that came out of claiming like there was somebody at DICE, somebody at EA who said that EA execs were aiming for 100 million players. 100 million for Battlefield 6. This is a $70 game. And I think that they're making some sort of battle royale, and I think that the battle royale mode is going to be free to play. But even then, 100 million? Fucking Call of Duty doesn't do 100 million players for one game, for one of their games. How much did... Okay, let's take a look at this. I kind of wish I would have picked a gameplay trailer actually instead of this story shit, but let's take a look. The total rich. Okay, all right, fine. There it is. This is good. This is what I was looking for. Over 100 million. All right. Warzone did it. Warzone 1 did it. I don't think this is including Warzone 2, right? This is just Warzone 1. They're aiming for Warzone level success. Warzone 1. They're not getting it. Like, I just don't fucking see it. Like, Battlefield has never done as good as Call of Duty. They've always been behind. Even at their best with Battlefield 1, they were still behind Call of Duty. So I think this is like that 100 player shit where it's just like, we're going to shoot for the sky. So let's put it right here. Battlefield 6, 100 million players, right? Let's put it right here. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So Battlefield 6 aims for 100 million players with bold new strategy. There it is. There it is. So like they're going to try and they're going to be doing a bunch of shit. Like I said, there's a battle royale that they're trying, you know, they have like a big marketing campaign, all of this and that. That doesn't guarantee that they're gonna succeed. Remember, they made a battle royale for Battlefield 5, and they were hoping that was gonna be big, and like fucking nobody played it, except for me. So like, yeah, this whole we're gonna be making a Battlefield game every year. This is not gonna go that well. I don't think so.
Subscribe and like.